for a sec. We'll get it started, and then you can ditch. Just want to make sure that I finish the button pushing and the blinking light shit and that sort of stuff.
Right.
And there it goes. So now we're starting to get it popping up live on top.
Yeah.
Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, kiddies and all ages, tribe, my tribe, syndicate people. Welcome to a Cyndicate Talks Season 3, Episode 7. I'm your host, Mitch Carriage, the Savage in Business. This is a Cyndicate Talks where we as tribe bring education to you, tribe members, and the business community at large. Now, we started a Cyndicate Talks at the very beginning of the pandemic for two important reasons. One, to give a showcase for our business members and allow them to talk about the things they are best at. Two, provide the one thing that should never be at a premium, business education for free. The members are experts in their own industries and businesses, and by bringing what they do best to you, telling you how it works, they make you smarter as business owners, make it easier for you to do your job, and share the wealth amongst each other. Today, she's been on before, she's on again right now, our girl, and at recording time, our birthday girl, Danielle Pilon, my friend, my client, other mother to my children. Who knows how that's going to work or whatever it is. Danny and I have had a chance to get to know each other really well over just about the last 3 years. Danny, as always, thank you so much for coming on and joining us today as well. She's going to be talking about money, just what it takes to get there, accounting, bookkeeping practice, working as a financial advisor, etc. I brought just one person, one voice on today to do that because her insights into what it does and how it works, and as we navigate through the continued advancement of a pandemic, and as we navigate 2021, 2022, and further years and beyond, insights continue to build trust, integrity, and of course, are beneficial at all layers of business. So Danny, it's a pleasure to see you as always. Paul, thanks for hanging out, doing your thing like normal. I'm going to do a little bit of button pushing here in a moment. But Danny, if you could just give people an insight, a little bit of insight, how you got to where you're sitting at right now, we'll start the Q&A portion of today and really begin to educate people. I'm going to do a little bit of stuff here off in the background, back in at Command Central for a moment. And from there, we'll get into the meat and potatoes of what you're here to share with today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And as always, it's a pleasure to speak not only to the Syndicate community, but our entire growing YouTube community in general. I've been a member of Syndicate since day one. Absolutely, it's been an honor to watch this evolve. And for those sitting in the chat, those sitting in the existing organization right now, and for those on the fence about whether or not to join Syndicate, I can say that whether it's this platform or whether it's our private members only chat, like whatever it is, like this morning alone, I think there was like 3 or 4 different referral requests that were met by members of our team. There is a incredible ecosystem being built in the back end, and it's truly awesome to be a part of it. So thank you for having me back. My name is Danielle Pilon. Like Mitch said, I own what used to be, I guess now that we formally rebranded, we used to be Danielle's SOS Bookkeeping Services, and now today we are sitting here as DSOS Accounting and Bookkeeping. Couple reasons behind a need to rebrand, but let's, we'll put that over there for right now. But I've been doing this for just shy of a decade. When I went to formal education, so I went to university at Grant MacEwan, I started my education as a language arts major. I'm a writer by trade. I kind of hopped and fell into an accounting career, family business. My stepdad owned an accounting firm, and at the time I needed a job. So I went to work as a receptionist and as a bookkeeper. I'll explain, I guess, the easiest way to say this is my brain works 50% analytical and 50% creative. So the part of me that is analytical absolutely loves accounting and bookkeeping as a profession because there's safety and there's repetition, and it's like riding a bicycle. When I started the business, we were looking for, actually, I guess it falls exactly onto the lines of what, if you guys were sitting on earlier, the box lunch, Scott was talking about how, like, when you're doing your marketing, what sets you apart from other people. When I got into business, our handle had SOS in the business name. And it had SOS in the business name for a reason. There is so much either lack of education, misinformation, or just a general uneasiness that evolves around money in general. Now, when you combine money with taxes, things get right batshit crazy real fast. Either people are afraid of it, or they know some, but they don't know all. And it's not necessarily all about knowing all. It's about knowing enough that pertains to you, enough that you can help yourself evolve, and then unfortunately pursuing a continued education course in financial education, because there is so much changing so fast. And a big advocate for trust people that are good at what they do to do what they do, so you can be busy doing what you do best. Accounting for me, analytical, riding a bicycle, there's safety in it. Okay, it's a constantly changing horizon. There's always new leadership, new laws. There are changes, there are tweaks, there are new systems, there are temporary subsidies, there are, whatever the variation might be. It's always evolving. So for me, it was family business. Here's a job. Fall in love with it. I did. I switched my education halfway through to a Bachelor of Commerce, because I sat there and said to myself, do you want to be a starving artist, or do you want to get into one of the most secure industries in the world? Like, as a family, we make a bad joke. What's certain in life? Death and taxes, right? And I don't want to touch dead people. So taxes it is. And truly, truly all about the education side of it, though. Punching numbers into spreadsheets, I can train monkeys to do that. And my people are far from monkeys, but we make the bad joke anyway, because it's true. But it's not about how you enter the numbers. It's about what you do with the numbers, how you interpret them, how you turn them into the evolution of your business. You can either have your money working for you, or you can have your money working against you. And as a person that doesn't believe in stasis, I believe that if you're not moving forward, you're dying. Now, that sounds really negative and it can have an ominous tone to it, but especially with this year, it really just means that you need to be learning something new every single day. Whether it's something big or something little, you just need to be learning or doing or talking to somebody or asking a question or reading a forum post on Reddit. Whatever it is, you need to be doing something new every day. So when it comes to the financial world of accounting, there's never a shortage of things to talk about, share with clients, learn about, and it gives me something that it's just an ever evolving horizon. So I'm never going to spend a day in my life being bored with what I do, which is a privilege. So in a weird way, I guess that's why I got into accounting. And from a business that started in my basement as a single mom, on the outside of my own financial crisis, I used the tools in accounting to learn how to get myself out of a really bad situation. And I was lucky and fortunate to be placed in front of people that have been a board of advisors for me since my business began, including both Paul and Mitch. My business it went through a period for 6 years where it doubled in size every year. We went through a massive boom, a massive explosion. There's a never-ending need for SOS, save my soul, messy, ugly, disgusting, daunting box of paperwork taxes. So we flourished. We've had a hell of a last year and a half with some interesting developments. But I'm grateful and thankful to be sitting here on the horizon of 2022, incredibly grateful for the people that work for me, the people that are my mentors, my spouse and my family, and the grace of being allowed to say that every once in a while we get to be human. So on that note, I guess that's who I am and what I do.
All right, we're here to talk about money and how it works. Money went out the window the way everybody is used to it over there. And no, I'm not. On my screen, it looks like I'm blaming Paul. Actually, maybe we should blame Paul. Paul's to blame. And in fact, the top of his shirt says cash, and then crew, and then customers, right? The holy trinity for business. So it's Paul's fault if it's not working. Money shifted and changed in our understanding of what is doing with it. But more importantly, from an accounting and bookkeeping standpoint too, I know you got a whole other life as a financial advisor, and you're involved in crypto investments and real estate and all these other great things. So there's lots of different topics to be able to navigate amongst all those. But money at the end of the day is just money, or is it? And money only works one way, or does it? It doesn't. Our understanding of money really shifted. So give people a sense at home, because as an accountant, as a bookkeeper, as somebody that helps to navigate that portion of it, what we think of as money is very different than how it actually works. And I mean, if I could offer a seed as a nugget, start that conversation. I had a client meeting here earlier this week where, and Paul was privy to that one as well, where the accountant came back and said something really good about this, then like this. And very quickly, I had to make sure to clarify with my client that his accountant was talking about cash flow, not about profitability or retained earnings. Because as we know, profit and cash flow are very different. And yet where that accountant sounded like he was going to begin with had nothing to do with the actual health of the business itself, so much as he did about the relation of how much revenue it was compared to retained earnings and net profit. Never mind, what he really was saying was, hey, business owner, you need to be able to preserve more cash. You need to make more money to save more cash. You need to be smarter with saving cash. So Danny, with that in mind, and with that little nugget or that little seed to really start with, money does not work the way we think it does. What do people have to know about it? And what do they have to do to pay better attention for themselves so they can keep more of it themselves, or just be smarter with it overall and navigate as business owners?
Awesome. That's a perfect example. The narrative the last 6 months when I'm going through financial reviews with clients is it's all about looking at money differently. We have been sorry. Oh no. Okay, sorry. Technical difficulties. That was my phone ringing. So sorry. As financial planners, as accountants, as financial advisors, we've been put through like a massive test the last 2 years because we have a tendency to fall into our lulls. It means what we're good at, what we know works, we get by, we do what we need to, but we stopped being creative somewhere along the line. And so you have this set of statistics for business that say that how many businesses in 10 succeed or fail because of A, B, and C, blah, 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 blah. And that's been largely true until you throw a massive worldwide pandemic into the mix, and all of a sudden your business as usual goes out the door. So businesses that were considered recession-proof, businesses that were considered, in a really good place, have watched either their cash flow tank, their retained earnings get eaten away, or their gross profits in general decrease. And it's forced people to go back to the drawing board. And you couldn't have said it better. Money is money, but it's not just money. When I look at the world, I guess I look at it a little bit differently, because when somebody tells me about their business, what runs through my head is going to be different than what runs through somebody's head that doesn't have a financial background, right? When somebody says, I started a new business, generally speaking, we're going to go through the pleasantries of saying to them, oh, that's fantastic. What do you do? What do you sell? Blah, 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 blah. When I get the same narrative, my brain goes, okay, what are your costs? What are your margins? What is your growth? What is your financial projection for your first year? How strong is your budget? Where are your resources? Are you isolating core needs and associating one expense with that, or 10? Right? Perfect example. We have a friend of ours. He runs a contracting business. Right now, this gentleman is running through the ringer because he's got 3 different CRM softwares that he is absolutely in love and married to. Problem is, none of them talk to each other. So now what you've got is you've got a business with 3 different core products. Like in a service-based installation company, you have to have a CRM. You have to. It's how you manage and develop your clientele, your leads, your quotes, and basically how you survive in that ecosystem. So we've got a problem where we've got 3 marvelous tools. They're all really great in their own right, but you've got a cost associated with all 3, and you've got a long drawn out horizon where the individual is really struggling with picking which one to choose to put all his eggs in. And unfortunately, when I look at businesses like that, I look at it and I go, you have to shrink your timeline when it comes down to choice. You need to narrow down which one is going to make the most sense for you. Maybe not even just today, but in a horizon of, say, 6 months to a year from now. Or if I say, what happens if your business doubles? Will the choice that you pick today be able to handle that? If you quadruple in size, if you 10 times over, will that be able to handle what you need? Isolate it, pick it, make a decision, cut the rest out. Now you're eliminating paying that $19.95 or that $49.95 or that $299.95 every month going forward, that you sit in deliberation mode and going, what can I do? How can I repurpose those dollars, and how can I get them working better for me? Whether or not it's in your pocket or whether it's put towards a better expense, right? I've seen businesses that have a wonderful a wonderful process, but no usable tool. So everything is being done manually. Well, the work hours, the cost of your employees, the cost of your contractors, the cost of your time and sanity is bleeding out your business. And while that may not be something that you can directly read on a financial statement, it is to the right set of eyeballs, right? I will go through and I'll do a financial review, and I will go through, my bookkeepers will do, thankfully, most of the work now, and I get to look at the end result. I will expand a specific category. For example, let's go through cost of goods. Every business should have a identifiable margin. It means the cost of what you like, or the profit that you make when you sell something, right? Right off the bat, you lob off 60%. Okay, 60% is your cost of being able to sell or produce a product or service, right? Now that 60% can be made up of many things or of one thing, depending on the complexity of the service or product that you're offering, right? When we were dealing with business as usual, we had a set of margins, and we said, okay, this is always going to be this way because we haven't seen a major disruption in, say, for example, the supply chain on a global scale. Boop, here comes the pandemic. Well, all of a sudden you've got a service and product interruption because the supply chain is totally out of whack. You've got rippling effects through industries on multiple continents, and all of a sudden you, Joe Blow, that owns let's say you own a dollar store. Well, your supply chain has been completely not decimated, but it's sure going through a test of its resiliency, right? So now, say for example, you used to offer 100 products, but you can only get 50 in today. Well, those 50 now cost you double what they used to. So not only is your selection being cut in half, your cost of business, instead of being 60%, maybe might be 80% or 85%. And now you've got to either do one of two things. You either have to find and supplement new products, which is not a simple method. You got to go through advertising. You got to go through testing. You got to go through viability to see whether or not long-term those also may either be affected by supply chain problems, or whether you can go local or you can go small, whatever it is, or maybe you variant off of what you've already got and you just try, okay, I'm going to have a 10% margin on everything, but I'm going to, instead of only offering one variation of this product, I'm going to offer 10, where I've often chose to only run one because I've got 99 other supplemental products that diversify what I do. Right? These are questions that now ripple out financially when I'm going through your financials and I'm saying, okay, what's in your cost of goods? Not only who are you dealing with, where are they based, how much have their margins come up over the last X amount of years of being in business? Like, it's interesting because when you look at it, most people don't track what their costs are year over year. They just know what their own profits are. So I know that I sell this service at $19.95, but the products that I need in order to sell this $19.95 item has gone from $6.92 to $13.39 over the last 10 years. My prices stayed at $19.95. Where's your cash, right? It doesn't exist anymore, right? People struggle with, I don't want to raise my prices because it'll drive business out my door. But in the meantime, you have no problem with the fact that your supplier has doubled their cost to you over the last 5 years, but you've not passed that along to your customer. Meanwhile, everybody in these little niche industries are all going, well, I don't want to raise my price. Are you raising your price? I don't want to raise my price. Are you raising your price? And so they stay inside this weird little like ball of uncertainty. Meanwhile, the producers of the stuff that goes into giving you that end user product are laughing because they're making off like bandits, and your cash flow is dissolving, and you're going, why am I broke? I'm doing everything the same as I've always done it. Nothing's changed in my business. Nothing about me has changed. And it's where we go and we see a shift from self-centered business to the outside bird's eye view. One thing I love about being on this talk specifically is that the way that I've had to learn how to raise my prices in business and go through these things as well, even though I'm not affected by supply chain because of what we do, it's mostly manpower. The labor interruption in the last 2 years has significantly impacted the way that we do business and the way that we can raise our prices. And through not only my own stupidity, I've had to learn things the hard way, but something smart that I will say that I've taken advantage of, and I urge you to, and it comes out in spades when you listen to Cyndicate Talks, is absolutely invest in a business coach. You know, sometimes you're not going to be able to see the things that are wrong with your business because you're so involved in doing your business. doing your business is a good thing, and you need to put money on your, you want money on your pocket, food on your table, feed your kids, feed your employees, all that kind of stuff. But if somebody has never talked to you about what cash flow is versus profit, do you actually understand what that means, right? I know what that means because I have to deal with it on a daily basis, but I educate people that don't know. They have very successful businesses. They run them. They're profitable. They do all this stuff. But then when you start asking people the hard metrics about their own money, what are your margins? What's your bottom end net profit percentage based on gross sales? And people are like, what now? Where's your cash flow? How much cash do you keep in the bank? How do you track the difference between cash flow and deposits? Have you tracked, like, how high is your accounts receivable? How high is your continuous accounts receivable month over month? Do you have periods during your year where your accounts receivable are higher and then accounts receivable is lower during other times? Do you have a seasonal business where you make most of your business in one part of the year and then you have to budget and expand that revenue to cover you in the low months? Whatever it is, each business is a little bit different. And at the beginning, I said, I love this because it's like riding a bicycle and the mechanisms are always the same. They are, even though I just threw out a whole bunch of variety. When it comes down to what we do, we look at it as it all boils down to your financials, your cost of goods, your margins, your cash flow. Cash is cash is cash is cash. We don't run without cash. And you can talk about sideways, expansions into borrowing and debt and loans and leveraging and all this other stuff. But like at the end of the day, I think the biggest things that I can tell people when it comes to an explanation of cash and how money isn't just money, it's everything. Like money is everything. Without money, we don't exist, right? Are you looking at your competitors often? Are you looking at what your production costs are? I want you to go and track your top 5 vendors that you deal with. Maybe you're a retail store. Who do you do business with? Pick your top 5 biggest suppliers and track their cost to you over the last 5 years. Look at your own sales costs, your own customer facing price, and say, have my prices been adjusted to keep up with the inflation or the increased rates that I'm dealing with from my own inside vendors? And look at it and say, okay, now, if you had incrementally raised your prices by 5%, let's say 5, okay? Inflation, basic inflation is 3%. You're going to see the gambit. Some people will raise their prices 200% per year. It just depends on the industry. But let's say you pick a nice, shiny 5% increase. If you go back and for every year you didn't increase your price and you go into the calculation based on if you had, it will give you a lost cash flow number between point A and point B. And I don't urge people to do that to be detrimental or negative. I do it to show people the power of a little bit of increase in cash, right? Typically speaking, you'll look at probably a quarter of what you make a year in lost revenue because you haven't chosen to increase your prices to match what your costs are, right? That cost of goods can be expanded across every single field on your financials, your meals and entertainment. Going to McDonald's, it doesn't cost the same thing for a cheeseburger that it did 5 years ago. Talking to your accountant, we don't charge you the same thing we did 5 years ago. Going to get fuel in your car doesn't cost you the same as it did 5 years ago. It doesn't matter whether you're a service or a product-based business. What matters is that as an industry, as a global economy, we're increasing our prices every year. And as soon as you are not keeping up with that, you are falling behind. And so the answer of why don't I have enough cash or why am I broke, a lot of the times can be broken down to simple enough things. But if nobody ever highlights them to you or explains them to you, you may just not know, right? So whether it's from a good accountant or whether it's from a business coach, when it comes to money talk, it's not like financials are so simple in the sense that if I expand them out, all I'm looking for is how you spend your money, right? I'm looking for how much you draw out on your own. I'm looking for how much you pay in taxes. I'm looking at those retained earnings. And for people that don't know what retained earnings is, I'm not going to go through a big explanation, but essentially it's that value of your business year over year, right? It's a portion of your gross revenue minus your expenses. And at the end of the day, it's cumulative, which means it rolls over. So when I started, I said people will either deal with one or two problems, which is either I don't have any cash or I've watched my retained earnings dissolve over time. Dissolving retained earnings just means that it's another effect of either not raising your prices or not watching your vendors or frivolously spending without a budget. It's basically It's the long-term value of your business being eroded away. Well, maybe your business was worth $1 million 5 years ago. And then 4 years ago, it was worth 1.2. 3 years ago, it was worth 1.5. And all of a sudden, you've got the last 2 years of disruption with the pandemic, and it went down to being worth 750,000. And now it's down to being worth 300,000. Well, what went wrong? Well, what went wrong could be a whole gambit of things, but a lot of it is not just lost customer revenue. It's the inside mechanisms of how you make money that have not kept up with the economy as a whole. It's the little finite things that you can do before the customer is even involved, right? We're all very, very dependent on customers, and customers keep the lights on and they keep the doors open, and absolutely they do. With no customer base, you're not going to make a business, you're not going to have a business. But if you don't do the 10 things as a business owner that happen behind the closed door before the shop opens every day, it doesn't matter whether 1,000 customers walk through your door or whether 100 do, you're not going to retain any cash. You're not going to build long-term sustainable value, and you're going to become a statistic. It's just the way it goes.
Danny, if I can add something to that for a moment, and then let me get you wound back up. So I actually pulled some stats from a couple of the restaurant places I go to for numbers. Yeah. The price of a cheeseburger in 2002 at McDonald's was 69 cents. Yeah. The current Canadian price for a cheeseburger at McDonald's is $1.89.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's ridiculous. And to be fair, like if we look at that and say, okay, how many of us in the last 10 years have doubled the prices of our service and products? Truthfully, like map it out, put them on a list, map what your prices were and map what they are today. Not a chance. There is a very low statistic that says that only so many business owners have done that. And people will argue left and right. It matters what industry you're in. It matters what types of employees you have. No, it doesn't. It really honestly doesn't. And it's a comfort food that we feed ourselves in business that say, oh, well, it can't be helped. My industry as a whole is really hard. Bullshit. There are people that do business well, and there are people that do business poorly. And it's not to piss on people that do business poorly. It's just that if you're not making ground, you're being left behind, right? There are statistics for a reason. The people that want it, it's survival of the fittest. It's a dog eat dog world. It means that if you want it, you've got to figure out what's wrong. You have to be humble enough to say, I screwed up. And whether it's ignorance or whether it's negligence, there's two different things there. It doesn't matter. Put those aside and say, okay, what do I need to do to fix it? Right? Like our business, for example, went through a massive growth cycle over a 6-year period. We doubled in size every year we were in business. At our peak 2.5 years ago, so just on that crest of the pandemic, so the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, we were in a gross revenue sweet spot. It was awesome. My net cash flow, however, was in the pooper. It was not good. And it took me another full year following that revelation to get around myself, finally listen to the advice that was given to me, and rip off a couple of really painful Band-Aids inside my own organization that went, oh my God, like the red flags are beeping in the background going, your business is collapsing, your business is collapsing, your business is collapsing. And you're going, da, 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 the sun is shining, things are good. You know, it's the dog sitting in the house that's on fire and he's going, it's fine. Everything's fine, right? Whether it's triggered by a pandemic, whether it's triggered by financial stuff outside your control, family issues, employee issues, culture, whatever it is, everybody goes through a cycle in their business at some point where things are too good and something has to give. My case, things gave, which in the long-term rebuilding stage of like coming into 2022, best thing that could have ever happened to us. It allows us to rebuild on a much stronger platform. But it's hurt on the way out, you know, the last year. But now I can say that my cash flow is coming back up to where I need it to be. I'm budgeting different. I'm looking at my margins. I'm looking at the fact that we, just like everybody else, didn't raise our major prices for 6 years. We increased our minor service prices, but we didn't increase our major service prices. And I can sit here preaching about raising prices, and I throw in the personal share that says, I didn't do what I'm telling you to do. It means that I ate the crow that I'm asking you to avoid eating because it tastes like crap, right? If you can go through, and I mean, I shared the same fears as everybody else, which is my customers will leave if I increase the price. What I found is that when I did raise the prices on our minor services, our business exploded. It actually increased the amount of business that we did because it made sense. People look at value versus cost and say, is there enough value here that I'm okay paying more, right? Some things we don't get a choice about. If we don't put gas in our car doesn't run, right? Which means the government dictates the price of gas. We got to pay whatever the hell they tell us to because we got to make our cars run, right? That's the reality of things. But some things we get a choice on, right? And if I had raised my prices 5%, it would have been equal to $10 a year, an increase in prices. But over 5 years, that would have been $50 if I just stuck to that. That's easily digested. Most people don't miss $50. They don't notice it because that's less than what we spend on coffee a month. That's a tank of gas. But in my mind, I'm going, oh my God, everyone's going to leave me because, there's so many choices and why would they stick with me? Well, don't discredit you as the business owner. You're actually probably the reason why people come to your business, right? I go to a cat pet store in Manning Crossing and I live in Beverly. Why? Because I like their service. I like their products. I like the people. I like the care that I get. There are 14 other pet stores between me and Manning Crossing, but I choose to go there because I like their service. I can track and tell you now with what I have for knowledge today that they've increased their prices. Absolutely. Great. They got a good accountant. I'm happy. I can look at it and say, I appreciate that. And I can still choose to continue to support you because I like the overall package. And that's a big, big misconception with money is that if I increase my money, which puts more cash flow in my pocket, my clients will leave, which will in turn deplete my cash flow. No, it doesn't work that way. If you want to try and increase your prices by 200% a year, sure, we'll have an interesting conversation. But if it's a reasonable margin, 10% is a reasonable margin, and some industries just have so low already for a net profitability that it's okay to operate on 10% net profitability. It is. Some industries make that work just fine, depending on the size of business. But as soon as you start dipping into 8, 7, 6, 5, now you're having the conversation with yourself, well, why the hell am I in business? I might as well just go be an employee because I'm not saving any money, right? I've got all the hell of running a business, but I got none of the perks.
Danny.
The problem is a couple of things will tweak that. Yes.
So you know the accounting side and what to say, and now you've experienced it within your company. So how does the conversation change with your clients on that? Going, hey, I know what you're going through, raise your prices or understand where your profit margins are. So are you communicating differently?
Yes, absolutely. The human factor of what I just kind of talked about was the fact that we're all human, right? Yep. When I got into business, I wanted to be able to be the person that someone could sit across the desk from and know that I'm never going to judge them. I'm not going to beat them up over the head with their shortcomings. I'm not going to tell them that they're a piece of shit. I'm not going to tell them that they're wrong. What I'm going to do is I'm going to analyze what's wrong and I'm going to offer suggestions. At the end of the day, whether you choose to take my suggestion or not is completely up to you. It's not my business. It's your business. I'll help you manage it and I'll help you develop it and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the choice belongs to you. When I've had a chance now to talk with people in the last, say, 6 months, we've been in hard rebuild for the last 6 months. And clients that I'm having the conversation with now, sharing that story and sharing a little bit about what we went through for the last year, the weird, overwhelming response is, it's nice to know you're human too. Thank you for giving me a practical experience, a practical parallel for my business. And I think that there's some careers where people will put people on lofty pillars and say, well, they can't do no wrong. Like my previous financial experience example was I've been through a consumer proposal. I know what it's like to meet rock bottom, say hello to it, embrace it, sleep on its floor for a while, kick yourself upside the head every day because you're stuck living on rock bottom floor, knowing full well that there are tools. You're just either embarrassed or you're scared or you're unsure or you're maybe surrounded by the wrong types of people and you just can't make those moves. And then when you finally do rip the Band-Aid off, it sucks. It tastes like crap, but you're moving forward. So you're willing to take the crap and eat the taste because you're going, well, at least I'm moving forward, right? I pulled off the Band-Aid. I got rid of $1,700 a month worth of credit card debt. So that's minimum payments, so that I could exchange it for a $300 credit consumer proposal payment for 5 years. It cost me my credit card. It changed the way I do my spending, and it cost me a car that I didn't actually really love, that cost me a lot of negative money anyway. It gave me an entire new outlook on money and finance and the way that we, operate either just our general personal budgets in life versus our business. But now I can say, look, while that's something that may not affect every single person, sure, you may never have to deal with that. That's cool. So I can relate. I went from being able to relate with, say, 60% of people to being able to relate to every single business with a shared struggle that has been screaming at us for the last year, which is I didn't have any cash flow and I didn't understand why. I get to kick myself a little harder because this is what I do. And I did know how to fix it, but I struggle with being human, which is stubbornness. And you want to be able to have it done 100% the way you think it should be done. And you're hoping and praying and living on a prayer, it's going to be okay. Things aren't going to last as long. And every once in a while, you got to just sit down and go, no, I got to go back to the basics. I was spending 4 times as much as I needed to on dues and subscriptions every month on crap that I hadn't opened in 6 months. It's like when we house clean and we're like, if I haven't touched it in 6 months, throw it out, right? Minimalism. If I haven't touched it in 6 months, throw it out. You want to get really hardcore? I haven't touched it in 3 months, throw it out, right? I've met people like that. And I'm like, kudos to you. That takes some serious self-discipline. The same thing happens with business. If I haven't touched that app in 6 months, get rid of it. I haven't touched that app in 3 months, get rid of it. It's the fastest way to cut, let's say, for example, 10% of your expenses. Just get rid of your dues and subscriptions, right? Do you need 6 email providers? No. Do you need 3 email campaign providers? No. Do you need 72 apps on your phone that are each $1.99 every month? No, right? Track your schedule, track your budget, track your actual spend, and say what things are relevant and what aren't. Mitch is laughing over here because this has literally been the last year for not just me, but for us as a household, as a family, as business owners. It's been going through and saying, what do we need and what do we don't need? Can we actually get by on having 2 employees instead of having 6? Yes. Can we outsource and replace 2 of those and say 2 is maybe a little too little, 6 is too many, but 2 plus 2 outsourced that cost me half the price of what 2 internal costs? Yeah, that makes sense. Is it hard to let go of people that you've developed bonds with that are employees of yours over years? Oh God, yes. You want to make it even worse? Have them be family. Okay, it's gross, right? It hurts, it sucks, it doesn't feel good, but at the same time, you're going, to an extent, if I'm feeding you, my kids aren't being fed. So now I've got to make a hard decision and say, okay, while I liked having 6 employees, the culture, it was nice to have people at the office. It made me feel good because my business was big and booming. It was killing my cash flow. It was eliminating any future for my business faster than I could create new legs to support myself, going, no, we're not going anywhere. And
but that could have also been because you were in such a growth spurt too, right?
Yeah.
Because your business was doubling so quickly on that side. So looking back, if what would you have done differently from what you know now?
That's my favorite question right now. I was explaining this to a client the other day. So somebody that I had recently retouched base with that used to use us, they stepped away for a little while and now they're back, which is a huge compliment, and I appreciate their business. We went through the story of kind of just what happened to us over the last 2 years. For me, what I would do differently is try and be more open-minded to the idea of balance, right? What we're talking about at the original conversation here is money, 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 right? Money is money is money is money. Money's not everything when it comes to just considering your gross margins. Absolutely. We made gross totals that doubled in size every single year. Woohoo! It's my claim to fame. But if you're measuring your net numbers versus your gross numbers, did you really double in size every year? No, we didn't. We doubled in top heavy revenue, but we did not double in bottom end, what was left in my pocket, what made not counting my hourly wage every time I touch a file worth it. It didn't pay for it doesn't pay for my kids' college education. It doesn't pay for a car payment that comes out every month. It doesn't put groceries on the table because I'm bleeding out. My problem was I spent too much time growing my business and I got lost. Number one, depending on somebody who started to create an incredibly negative culture inside the ecosystem that I thought I had built that was absolutely impervious to being corrupted. And number two, I stopped listening to the feedback from the people that were inside my organization because I thought we were just okay. It's the same things every business goes through. Mm-hmm. I wish I would have stopped clicking subscribe now. I have a horrible addiction to tiny costs. I do. I love them. I'm a education and information junkie. So what that means is that I want to try everything. And it only costs $14.95 a month. And just like everybody else, I forget about the $14.95 after I've tried it for the first 3 weeks and it's shiny and it's wonderful. Oh, there's a new one. And it costs $14.95. And pretty soon I've got 10 $14.95 charges. And quite frankly, let's be serious. Those don't cost $14.95 anymore. They cost $44.95 every month. And now you're drowning and wondering where your cash flow is, and your corrupt culture inside your organization is driving your employees insane, which is in turning, destroying your mental health, which is watching your bottom line disintegrate, and all that value that I could have built by seeing my top end double every year was evaporating. So feedback and I was going to say feedback for sure, paying attention to what's actually going on in your business. We already covered, I didn't raise my prices, so that's not helping. And just being able to identify your own human flaws and take a real hard look in the mirror and say, I am good at this, but I'm not good at this. And instead of trying to fake this till I make it, I wish I would have found Mitch 5 years sooner. That's a truthful statement. Like, the people around me were not a good council of people, and today, like I said, I'm so fortunate to sit surrounded by people that care genuinely about what happens to my business, my family. And it's huge, right? And I mean, I get the double privilege of being in business with my business coach now, which is crazy, right? My business coaches. And that's huge. Like I that's not an opportunity to get every day. And I fully believe that where myself or me and Scott, like the two of us, where we are today is because we've had to go through eating our share of crow in the last year. And both of you personally, I know, have shaken your head at us and went, oh my God, you guys are capable of better and bigger and stuff like that. And I guess coming back to where money is money, like at the end of the day, like it doesn't also cost an arm and a leg to get good advice, right? It costs the conversation, the time it takes you to pick up a phone or sit in front of your computer and message and say, I need help. That's all it costs you. At the end of the day, business coaches are imperative to why my revenue has increased and my cash flow has increased. They're a cost that has generated me money. That's a huge thing that people also don't realize, is that sometimes you got to spend to make, right? But what are you spending to make? Those dead apps that you've used for 3 weeks and are still sitting on your credit card 6 months later are not good cost of business. They're a financial drainer. Mitch costs me double what every one of my subscription costs. But at the end of the day, he quadruples my income every single month by giving me advice, by being a sounding board, by being the person that can go no, or go, damn, that's awesome. Or, hey, why don't we just tweak this? Or have you thought about this like this? Or, hey, let's introduce you to this person that can do this for you. And
he's not just a shiny app.
Shiny beard. He's Santa Claus for business. But whether it's
a Viking,
people or things,
Viking,
he's Viking Santa.
Yeah.
Viking Santa.
Viking
That's
in
where I'm
business.
going. Yes, but it all comes. Oh, that's badass. Okay, does your business coach have an axe next to him just off screen for these very key moments? If he doesn't,
slashing through the competition.
Coach. Yeah. Absolutely, literally and figuratively, which makes me happy on every level. He's looking for something else. This could be bad.
So Danielle, would you say that you are, with your accounting business, or would you be more rounded? Do you obviously you understand the ups and downs of business and what entrepreneurs and business owners go through. So does that set you apart from other accountants, or like, how does that work within your own industry?
That's a very good question. And, not to pump my own ego, but yes, I do believe it does. When I talked about how there's some industries where people put the professionals in those industries on pedestal, very nice. I put him on a pedestal. Okay. It's a very, very shiny pedestal, and it comes with like weapons and shit. So,
well, you know what Christmas list he'll have, right? Yeah.
Right. It's true. Oh man. When it comes to my industry as a whole, financial advisors think that in order to give good business advice and to be people that are the confidants of their clients, that they have to be impervious to making mistakes. That's not true. Like, it's been an interesting experience talking to clients this year and having them say, I actually respect you more because you're not so shiny and perfect. You are a human being that has gone through the same crap that we go through, and it makes me relate to you on a whole different level. Like, I tried not to be an unfriendly, shiny bobblehead on a shelf kind of business owner. I've tried not to be that stuffy, my stepdad generation accountant. But being able to relate to people on a human to human level about things that they go through, yeah, it does. And I'm not afraid to talk about them. I don't know how many other accountants have been through them. I don't know how many people built their empire off of the bad taste of a shitty relationship that made them realize that money is more important than anything, and learning how to use it and weaponize it and turn it into an empire is a really good thing. I don't know how many other people have been like that. But it makes a bad joke that we're like the Tim Hortons of professional services, and there's one of us on every corner, which, true story, at my old location, you could hotspot and look for an accountant and pin drop in Google, and 75 of us popped up within a 2-kilometer radius. Like, wow. It's not even funny, right? What sets you apart? I'm a human. I screw up just like you do. The difference is I make sure that when I screw up, I'm building plans to repair and move forward, and I will probably digest this year 3,000 different articles and books and audio books and things, because I'm just looking to devour knowledge that says, how can I best improve on the things that I've done wrong or not quite right or just downright disastrous, or how can I improve on the things that I'm doing well? And that's huge, right? Like, accountants seem to be the type of people that if you're not sitting in their office with the door closed and the consultation fee slid across the table, you can't get good advice, right? We're higher than everybody else. Bullshit. Like, bullshit. I don't care. Like, I have full respect for places like MMP and Deloitte and BDO, the big guys in the industry, right? But I don't want to be like them, and I'm not trashing them at all either. It's just they play in a different level, right? Where they're not looking to be human to their clients. They're not. And maybe you'll find the odd associate here and there that's really great, but they're just not looking to produce the same experience. They're doing really well. They're international. They're great. I'll never knock anything they do. But for me, I've always thought of myself as a small business accountant, which means owner to owner across the table. I want you to understand that I'm a real person. And this is just added to the toolbox in a less than ideal way, I guess. If I could have taken back some of the things in the last year, I absolutely would have. But I believe that experience is the best tool we got. So here's to experience and weaponizing it and turning it into the rejuvenation of the empire building campaign so that 2022 can be the best year we've ever had.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I would rather have somebody who's gone through the war than somebody who's just read about it.
Yeah.
It's the blood, the sweat, and the tears.
Yeah.
And because you've been there and you've done that, you know what it's like. And book theory is completely different from a real world applied situation.
Mm-hmm. Oh God, yes. People are beautiful, but we're messy. We're messy. We're ugly at times. We're beautiful at times, but we are not like they teach you in books. They're not. And as a writer with a background in writing, I know what it's like to paint an ideal picture, right? If I want to throw you into the most beautiful scenery you've ever seen, I'm going to make you a mental picture you're going to remember. If I want you to visualize the worst and the dirtiest and the nastiest and the grossest of humanity, I'm going to make you get there real fast, because that's what words do. But when you've actually sat with somebody and realized that that's not just a character in a book, right? Like, there are people that those are based off of that really exist. Like, if you never realize it, you never realize it. It's like having a conversation with somebody that doesn't realize their city has homeless people. And you're like, oh, yeah, you have homeless people. There's a whole history as to why your town does versus how mine does, but they absolutely exist. Right. People are like, well, our town is clean. I'm like, yeah, but you have dirty edges too, And then when you start to have conversations with those people, you realize, yeah, damn, they're real people, and they've got stories, and they've got, the stuff they can teach you. And you realize that the people that have been through the worst of things really do make the best educators, because they've scrimped and scraped and scratched and clawed and pulled and pushed and fought their way up, and not knocking anybody that hasn't had to struggle to grow their business. It's awesome. No, it's fantastic. No. But when you've had to, struggle and pull and push and fight and hold on for dear life in the middle of a storm you never think is going to end, you look at things different. And if I can offer some relatability to my clients because of that, despite the ones we've lost, despite the things that have gone wrong in the last year, I'm not making excuses for those. I will be the first person to apologize where it's affected other people's businesses. I know that what I can bring forward, moving forward, saying I've asked for reconciliation and now I'm choosing to move forward. If you give me the chance, the tools that I've acquired because of it make me a better person. And I think I can offer more value to your business because of that.
It's like pressure makes diamonds, right?
Yeah.
You got to go through it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So there's something very tranquil to be said about sitting on the outside of what I will describe as the worst year we've ever had. And being able to say that I'm still standing here.
Yep.
You know, and testament to, like when I said, you need to get yourself a business coach. I'm looking in the room. I'm also looking for people that have done things and been places and talked to people and had businesses and failed and struggled and grown. And I mean, I'm again appreciative that in this room, I get to draw on the knowledge of people that have done either similar things to what I've done or different things, but have that experience. And I know, you know, that the people that I surround myself have had their own challenges and their own, you know, mishaps in business where you've trusted the wrong person or you've invested the money for the wrong person or you've tried to do this and you failed and you've won your successes here and you've turned it into something else. Because number one, it gives me lots of things to talk about with people, which I like talking. So that's always good. And number two, it makes me feel like I've always got things to learn. You know, like God forbid the day I ever get to a position where I say I don't have anything else to learn, because there's so much that you can learn. And even if you feel like you're doing everything right, you can always be better.
When the day we think we're doing everything right, we're probably doing everything wrong at that.
Oh God, the back end of the ship is burning and we're not even like, we're just like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's true. When you stop thinking that you're needing to improve is when the whole ship's about to blow. So
what am I doing wrong? Yep.
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong? What am I not seeing? Yeah.
But it's good to be sitting on the other side of it. So I guess roundabout all the way back to the beginning of the conversation, Mitch, like I said, I think that for the piece of advice, especially for 2022, walking out of the remnants of this pandemic, because hopefully we are moving forward away from the restrictions and the ripples in business that have been less than desirable. Be aware of what your money does for you, right? Because your money is either being earned, right? You invoice every month. That's great. That's where you start. And then you have to see how many things get subtracted off of it before it ever ends up in your pocket. What are you spending your money on, right? If you don't have an intimate knowledge of what you're spending your money on every single month, you are losing money. It doesn't mean that your business is not profitable, and it doesn't mean that your business is not sustainable, but it could be better, right? When is the last time you opened that software that you pay a due and subscription for? When was the last time that you did the comparable between eating out 3 nights a week and cooking dinner, right? Nobody likes to cook dinner. We all hate it. It sucks. It's easier to just go on, skip the dishes and order, you know, whatever, because I don't want to make a steak, but I can order a steak from Earl's and it's going to cost our family of $4, $150 because you can't eat for less than that anymore unless you're eating toadstools. But the comparable is what I can buy for $150 worth of groceries. Well, that's a lot, right? Sure, I can write off a percentage of my meals and entertainment on my taxes, and I can't write off my groceries. But at the end of the day, my groceries don't build my empire, right? Like, or my eating out doesn't build my empire. What I have left in cash flow builds my empire,
Until
right?
you know that you could buy gift cards to buy your groceries and write those off.
Yes, absolutely. You sure can. Stop paying your employees their Christmas bonuses in cash. Buy them gift cards. It's true. It's you know,
groceries, like, vanilla MasterCards, whatever else. Buy them like
absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. And there's a different way to look at your expenses, right? What
I've been paying Paul running shoes for 4 months. It's great.
Right. Running shoes are good. But
you want to buy some shoes? I've got too many now.
Tell him to start buying you different gift cards.
Yeah.
I'm just going to switch shoes.
I don't want Foot Locker anymore. I want Walmart.
No.
It's nothing but New Balance white with the blue N on the side. Nothing but.
Nothing but. But it's that in itself, like, all joking aside, is actually it's an awesome way to look at money too, right? It's what can you make into a business write-off and what can't you? And I mean, I could spend an entire hour just talking about business write-offs, but it's how do you spend your money? Where is it going? And does it actually translate to a percentage of increase in profit every month, right? Some costs are dead costs. They just are, right? You literally cannot resell a product without buying the product, right? It's a dead cost. It's a good cost, but it's a dead cost, right? Right? It's a dead cost. But things like how much meals and entertainment you spend, and how much you spend on fuel, and what things you do for travel, and what kind of subscriptions you spend your money on, like, those are all factors that can be manipulated on a monthly basis. And truly, like, going back to the beginning, my guy that's got 3 CRMs that he is absolutely in love with, pick one, rip the freaking Band-Aid off, pick one, because every single month that you pay for all of the above is going to long-term cripple your business. And when you're sitting there going, I'm having a hard time paying rent, what do? Cut your costs. Pick one. Pick one. If you don't like it, change. But pick one and only pay for one at a time.
So it's a strategy. It really to come with an open mind and go, what is my strategy and how I can reduce my expenses? What's redundant? What's too much? What's this? What's that? What can I change?
Yeah.
But also, how can I position my expenses so that I can get some of that back?
Yeah.
So it really is kind of that. I try to look at things at a game, because if my mind thinks it's a game, then I'm more engaged rather than, oh, this is work or this is accounting. It's what's the end game?
Yeah.
So I really like that. Like it's and that's what it is with having someone like yourself going, hey, did you know you can do this?
Yeah.
And helping out on that side. And that's huge, because so many of us are missing the boat.
Well, and with the way the last 2 years have gone, I mean, what used to be cash reserves have evaporated, which means what we're talking about today has never been more relevant. Like it's crazy when, like I said, secure business niches have, like, that security is gone. It's rebuilding, and the smart people diversified, but it's gone. That stability that we used to know and love and depend on is gone, which means that you either sink or swim. And if it's as simple as literally going through your credit card statement for 6 months and identifying where you spend your money on, please do it. We're not asking you to go play the lottery for a 1 in a million chance to win $1 million. We're asking you to go find an extra $500 a month that you can cut out of your books, that you can put back in your pocket, which is a third of your mortgage payment, which every single day that you do that allows you to more easily pay your mortgage payments. That's what's important today, not winning $1 million in the lottery. It's finding $500. Like, man, we went through this exercise in the summer. Like, Mitch was screaming at me just this week. Don't look at next week. Just look at this week. What do you need this week? What can you do this week? What receivable can you get paid out? Can you go to that person and offer them a payment plan? Can you get some of it? Okay, what do you need to pay? What are your absolute costs? What can you push aside? Like, I got to pay employees every 2 weeks. No doubt about it. They need to get paid. They work their asses off. And like Mitch said with you and Matt, like, he can't be him without you two. I can't be me without my employees. It doesn't work. I've tried. It's terrible. And I can't do just me anymore, but those are necessary costs. But what I'm spending on my blackjack, my $10 a game blackjack game on my phone because I'm bored and I need something to do when I go to the bathroom every 5 minutes, cut that out. You don't need it right now. It's not going to be the make or break, right? It's figure out what you don't need and get rid of it. Like, because it takes $200 a week, $300 a week, $500 a week. And all of a sudden you've got enough to pay your mortgage payments. And it's going to make or break whether your business survives or not. So if that's not worth it to you, please close your business down, because it's not rocket science. It's not chance. It's not luck. It's strategy. And if you're given the roadmap to do the strategy that's going to get you out of the hole that you didn't even create for yourself, the world threw at you and said, hey, guess what? Today you're going to get screwed. How do you feel about that? And you're like, I didn't sign up for this. And it's like, none of us did. Right. But are you still standing at the end of it? Mm-hmm. And did it cost, like, what did it cost you? It cost you a couple of extra nights eating out. It costs you a couple of games on your phone that you used to pump $20 a week into that you don't need to anymore. It costs you wearing no-name brand clothing from Walmart for a year instead of buying expensive clothes from the shops that you love, because it means that your doors of your business open and they stay open and you can continue to do business on the other side of this for another 10 years. Yeah, it's worth it.
Short-term pain, long-term gain.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So,
all right. Yeah. We're hitting the top of the hour.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, TV land, and I'm pointing out there, and I'm pointing here, and I'm pointing here as well. Syndicate land, Tribe land, everybody that's sitting here listening right now. If you've been joining us live on YouTube, Syndicate family, if you are watching right now, get it under control, because it will help you take better care of you.
Yep. Yep.
Then,
absolutely. And you're the only you've got.
Paul, helming it, co-hosting it. Thank you so much for there. Danny, you brought it. Love you every moment for that. Thank you so much. Happy birthday to you. Syndicate people, Tribe, family, everybody else. Thank you for joining us on episode 7, season 3, Syndicate Talks, money, how it works. You are the reason we do this. This is our best gift that we can give to you. And because of it, we get to show off, yes, a little bit of what makes us experts at what we do, but it means that we are transferring information and knowledge from us to you to make you better at what it is you do for a living. Thank you for joining us. Join us next time. Episode 8 and episode 9 of season 3 are coming up here in just 2 weeks' time from where we're shooting this one as well. Watch for those coming up. And season 4 starting in 2022. And as announced last time as well, need to pay attention as long as they keep playing nice. You're going to be able to find a Syndicate Talk season 1, 2, and 3. And of course, season 4 later. Where? On Amazon Prime. We're working on that right now. That looks like it's going to be the digital home for Syndicate Talk seasons coming up soon in the new year. Watch for that to come up as well. Thank you so much. I am your host, the Savage in Business, Mitch Camage. This is Syndicate Talks. This is for you. We love seeing you guys, and we will see you all on the next episode and very, very soon. Thank you.